welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome, everyone. Gives me a lot of pleasure to be here. Robin Temple came up earlier. What did you say, Robin? Do you want to do it?
I have the distinct feeling walking in that I and we are the manifestations of the vision that Michael and David had for this event. They kind of painted this picture, and then we stepped into it, and then walking in tonight, we are the materialization of that. We're all enrolled in it, and so it was fun to watch it come to pass so quickly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's a beautiful sentiment, and I want to give full acknowledgement to Life Force Corporate, the owners, and David Cluster, whose plane is late, but he will be here. He's on his way. And also acknowledge you, because I know the courage it takes to be here. Because guess what? I got the butterfly going too. And anybody doesn't have it, that's fine, but I think most of us do. We call it boot camp for a reason. We've had some people say, well, we should soften the name, and I'm happy with whatever name it's called, and my reply to them was, well, let's at least run one before we mess around with the name. Let's just see what we got here. What kind of animal is it? Hooah! And so there you go. So that's what we're going to call it, the Marine Boot Camp. But even the words boot camp for me brings up trepidation, a little bit of fear, like, can I do this? Not so much, but even a little bit of social fear, like, gee, what if I fail? What's that going to mean? And of course, it actually means whatever it means. Whatever I make it mean, it doesn't mean anything in and of itself. But I want to acknowledge the bravery to step into this, not knowing, trusting, not knowing, and risking it all. There's a number of people here who have a lot at risk. And we're going to hear from you. There's going to be a chance shortly for you to share what's up with you. What's at stake for you? What it took to get here? How you're feeling? Because we're going to get pretty intimate over the next 86 hours. And we might as well start out by just telling the truth, right? Isn't that helpful? We're all here. We're here as we are. And we all have goals. We all have dreams. And if we're playing for the big goals, I suggest fear would be an appropriate response. If you're not feeling a little something, you're probably not playing for a big enough goal. And of course, you can play for whatever you want. But by the way, speaking of sharing, has everybody gotten your intake interview done? Anybody not gotten your intake interview? Okay, would you guys be willing to do that? And here's what I'm going to ask. If we can do it right outside the lobby here, but we'll need the camera crew, CJ, to come down and do that. And we want to get everybody videotaped before we start the event. And we're clearly starting the event now. And and then we'll do an exit interview. Okay, and we'll talk about metrics in a little while. But just right now, what I'd like to do is actually invite any of you who have something you want to share. Now, it could be what it took to get here, maybe a combination of what you're expecting out of this, maybe what's your biggest fear? What do you see as your limitations? What are you playing for? What's your goal? And we're going to refine this as we go on. Some of you may have a goal of, I'm going to put out, I'm going to sample 100 people. Some of you may go, I'm going to sample 50 people. Some of you may say, I'm sampling 200 people or more. We're not as concerned, we're not ranking you according to how many you're committing to sample. What we're going to be working with you on is living into your commitment and getting a win. Now, we have wins for the course, and we'll discuss that, but each of you, we want each of you to develop your win. Because the thing about boot camp, some of you may know I was fortunate enough as a young man to be associated and get a scholarship to go to a military academy. And that was a big plus because I didn't have a wealthy family. And it was a prestigious school and it was all this stuff. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. as a young man. But what I learned was that things like this, no matter what we call it, it's an inner game, as much or more than the outer game. Because I was just a skinny little kid. I wasn't some big buff, Marine guy. I think I was all of 10, 12 years old. But what I learned quickly was that it was my inner strength that got me through. And that lesson is a gift. It served me through my life. I'm not suggesting you adopt the military lifestyle at all. What I'm trying to point out is that this weekend is not about your stamina or your endurance, your skill as a prospector, or that's all good stuff. But you know the crown diamonds in this company, in this community. They're all different people. No two of them have the same skill set or attributes or weaknesses. We're all different. And what I submit is that it is going to be your individual strengths and your dragons to slay that will allow you to have ultimate success. So for me, looking back, I was sharing with someone today, it's not a question of what they are or how big they are. For me, it became a question of how fast do I want to do it? And for you to be in this course this weekend says you're on the fast track. When you make it through this, you will be, I submit, a bigger person. In that you're going to have to dig deep, perhaps, to come up with the strength and the courage to stand in your commitment and maybe raise your commitment if you find you're just, you're not playing big enough. And then on top of all that, guess what? You get to be part of a team and help others and support them. So we'll talk more in a little while about the objectives and what we have as our goals and team goals and individual goals, and some of why this format and what's the opportunity here and how to maximize the value of this event for yourselves. But right now, I'd love to hear from whoever, and we're going to invite you to come up here because this is a great spot to stand, and share with us what's going on with you. What got you here, what you're looking for, whatever. So you want to come up here, and I'm going to just put this here, and here.